Hi, Eric.
Hey, everybody.
I'm
Hi.
so glad you're here. This is exciting.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we are too.
Thank
And
you
then
for
the
coming.
nicest part about doing something like this for the, whatever, demonstrator, host, whatever I am, is that we get to consume the contents after we're done.
That is
Yeah,
correct.
we need it.
Right. Yeah. So I'm ready to go. So what would you like to know about first?
Well, you were
I can
telling
tell
us
you what gin comes from and all about it if you want.
Yeah, let's hear the story about it because you've traveled the world and seen this drink in a lot of places. But tell us a little bit about the background of gin.
So I'm not actually able to hear you at the moment, so I'm just going to start talking because now I can hear you.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
so this whole thing started, this whole idea of the Spanish gin and tonic started on one of our trips. Nancy loves to travel, so we go all over the place. And this time we were in Spain, and we were in the Basque Country on the Atlantic coast, mostly for the seafood. But it was a really hot day, and we were outdoors at a plaza, and we said, let's get something refreshing. Gin and tonics we ordered. Well, that was great, but what came back was this drink. The glass had a bowl like a minor aquarium. It was huge, and it was full of ice and liquid and fruit and stuff. And
Wow.
I don't know, it looked good, so we tasted it. It was gin and it was tonic, and it was absolutely fantastic. So refreshing and perfect that I marked it in my mind. You got to remember this. And then later, the next year, we were in Belfast, Ireland, and we went to the distillery of the Short Cross Gin Distillery on the Radamon Estate. And the Radamon Estate is an ancient, very large estate. So what they do there at the distillery, they make the basic gin from beer, they distill it, and then they forage around the estate for the botanicals. So you have wild apple, you have elderberry,
Oh,
elderflower,
nice.
clover. You have all these fantastic, full of life type of botanicals that they mix with the gin, and then they kind of distill that, and that's their gin.
Nice.
And this is their bottle.
Eric,
Oh,
Short Cross
nice.
Gin.
Eric,
This
I
is a
went to
small
their
craft
website.
distillery. You wouldn't think of Ireland as a place for gin, but it's becoming very popular. And in fact, gin has been very deeply ingrained in the British Isles for centuries. Anyway, this particular distillery is the most recognized and most awarded. And you might say that this is the best gin in Ireland. And we were lucky enough to have some. So,
Eric,
so that kind of got us hooked. Yes.
Eric, I went to their website and it looks so cool. The short process.
So that was how we found out about gin, and I thought it would be good.
Corona Kitchen.
This is Corona Kitchen style. I thought it would be good to explain how gin actually got started and what it actually means. And it was invented in the Netherlands at about the 16th century. And the word comes from a Dutch word called Genève, and it means juniper berries. So they had made raw spirits, and then they flavored it with juniper berries. And then other things from their spice trade, like coriander, and exotic to them, things like lemon peel and so on. And that's how gin. Then the English invaded. And the English found stores of gin, and then they used that to get Dutch courage, as they called it at the time, which made them ferocious warriors. And they were so happy about that, that after the wars were over, they started importing gin like crazy. So that's how gin became popular in England. And in fact, at one time in London, there were hundreds and hundreds of distilleries. Everybody was making gin, with various bad results and so on. So anyway, that led to licensing laws. Later, when the English were in India, they had malaria, and there was a big problem. And the medicine that they had for malaria was quinine, which is very bitter. And it turns out that gin masks quinine very well. So they mixed water, quinine, bubbly, and gin, and you got a gin and tonic. And that's how that started.
Brilliant.
That's how that started. So it's got a long and honorable history. So now, would you like to see how they're made, a Spanish gin and tonic?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
do you make it?
Sí,
Here
señor.
is where you start with a glass with a large bowl.
Like
a
an
goblet would
aquarium.
be, yeah. I mean, or you could use a little fishbowl if you wanted to, but it's got to be big, okay? Because the first thing you're going to do is fill this with ice.
Okay.
So we'll fill this with ice.
That is a lot of ice.
Yeah, it's.
We should have New Mexican gin then. Why don't we? We have a lot of juniper berries.
We do.
In fact, the Santa Fe Distilling Company does make the gin, and they source all their botanicals within 20 miles of Santa Fe. So they, including the juniper berries and all that stuff. Okay, so now you've got the ice, and then the next thing is to put in the citrus. So here, this is part of what makes it work.
Okay.
You put little chunks of lemon and orange, and where's my lime? There's my lime. Okay.
Yeah.
And you could put several more in there if you want to. Okay. And then
If you have a
the next thing
bathtub.
you do is you could do, yeah. So you pour in some gin.
That would be a jigger, Lisa.
That's a jigger. That's a measured amount. I'm just being good about this. I personally never measure it. Okay, now that was Rangpur gin, which is a good gin, but you don't have to use premium gin for this. However, what you do have to have is good tonic water. And the tonic water that you get in the grocery store is sugary. It does have quinine, but it's just horrible. And it's important because this brings other flavors into it. This is Fever Tree, and they make about 6 different kinds of tonic.
Oh, yummy.
This is their aromatic. You see it has a color to it?
Yeah.
That is because they make it with Angostura bark. And that adds a really nice bitter aspect, a layer to it. Okay, so.
Do you know that Q brand?
Open this really slowly.
The Q brand.
Okay.
I don't know it.
Very good.
Now.
Well, see, that would be something I guess you could just do without the gin and just drink that beautiful tonic.
You could. It's actually really delicious.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you'll notice I'm holding this aluminum straw here. For the next step, you need something long and straight. It could be a bartender spoon or it could be a straw, whatever. Okay, because what you're going to do is you're going to pour the tonic down the straw, not in through it, but along the edge, like this.
Why?
And I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay. So now you're going to use about a half bottle of tonic. When I say this is, the tonic is 70% of it, there's, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
So, it's so pretty already.
There you go. Okay. Now look at how even the color is. The reason that you use this technique is you can't pour the tonic and then stir it because it's going to release all the bubbles. But when you pour it down this little straw thing, it travels down through and into the drink and mixes it. And that's why you do that.
Cool.
And that's kind of
awesome.
Nice. Okay.
That's cool.
Now, the last part, Nancy really likes this step. I don't exactly know why, but maybe you can tell me. But the next step is spank the mint. So here's, you get some mint and you put it on your hand like this.
Yep.
And you spank it twice. This opens it up.
That's right. That's why you should always do your fresh spices right before you're going to use them when you chop them, because that releases all the aroma and the oils, and you want that fresh going into it. Otherwise, it dissipates.
That's right.
Exactly. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the slapping just releases all the oils, and your hands smell like delicious. And so that's the drink. But, some people, not the purists, but some people like to put a straw in it. So there you go.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Bravo.
And then
that
is a Spanish gin and tonic. Cheers. And I am supposed to hand this to the camera woman who is now going to be enjoying it.
Treat your camera woman. Always.
So now what I was talking about earlier was good gin versus okay gin. And of course you want to use good gin if you can. And an example of a good gin that works great for this is Hendrick's. Mm-hmm. But Hendrick's is really expensive, I think. So I'm going to give you a way to make your own gin out of regular mid-grade vodka.
Make your own gin.
Okay. So, and then I'm also going to tell you a virgin gin and tonic, which sounds like a contradiction in terms, but it can be done. But first, let me show you how to make your own gin.
Okay, good.
Okay, so you need a jar. Okay. And then this is a bottle of mid-grade vodka. It doesn't have to be grade, none of this, 10 times distilled stuff, but it can't be rot gut either. Good mid-grade vodka. Okay. And you put it in the jar.
You don't want Everclear for this process.
No. I use Everclear for limoncello, and it's great for that.
I use it for that too, and you can use it for making vanilla.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea, sure. Yep. Okay, so now in your vodka, you take lemon and orange peel. Okay. You don't put as much. You don't want the white part because that's bitter.
Right.
And you put a bunch of these peels in here.
Wow.
And it takes a while for the citrus to release, and that's part of the process. Then you put in cucumber. You put lots of cucumber in here.
Okay.
The cucumber is essential to the flavor.
Okay.
And then, of course, to make it gin, you have to have juniper berries. Otherwise, it's not gin.
Yes, you need juniper berries.
So you can
get them from my neighbor.
You get them outside.
That's right.
Now.
So juniper berries, either you buy them or you get them, and you put some juniper berries, about 10. And then you can also use coriander. Coriander is a nice extra.
Hey, now, Eric, you don't have to crush those berries or crush the juniper?
No, I don't ever do that.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose you could. I don't know. I just never did. Okay, then you put it like this. Okay, now you put this in the refrigerator, and you wait about 3 days. The thing that's going to happen is that the cucumbers are going to release their flavor before the other ingredients. So you don't want it to get too cucumbery. So what you do after 3 days is you taste it, or you test it, not taste it. Here's how you test it.
Or
you take a straw. You can, but this is how the distillers do it. The distillers have to taste their product constantly, so they get drunk all the time if they didn't have a method. And this is the method that was taught to me by the distiller at the Short Crest Gin.
Chicken.
So you put some in a straw, and you put it on your finger like this.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you smell it. And you can smell all the aroma, but you don't get drunk. Okay.
Now, so you really don't taste it. You really don't let it go in your mouth.
Right. You do it all with the nose.
It's kind of like wine with the test.
Okay. So what you're going to find is it's going to taste very cucumbery and not too lemony or citrusy, and almost not juniper berries.
Okay.
At that point, you're going to fish out the cucumbers.
Okay.
And then put it back and test it again in a week. At that point, what should happen is that the citrus should balance the cucumber. And then you take the citrus out and leave it on the coriander and juniper berries for about a month. And then you strain it. And at that point, you will have a gin that I promise is as good as Hendrick's. And maybe
I'm
better.
doing that.
I'm going to try it.
So that is the basic on how you can make your own excellent gin on a home budget.
Yay!
Yay! Cheers.
Now, the last thing I promised was the virgin gin and tonic, which I never really looked up before because I think, if you take the gin out of a gin and tonic, you only have tonic left.
Drinking tonic.
It's just not the same drink, but it can be done. So here is what you do. You take another jar, and I'm going to use this glass to represent the jar. Okay. And you're going to put into this jar non-alcoholic white wine.
Oh.
Okay.
So
And then
basically, isn't that just grape juice?
No. It's been fermented, and then they
Oh,
take
okay.
the alcohol out.
Okay.
So it tastes like
wine.
wine, but it just has no alcohol. And then
Okay.
you do the same thing as you do with making your gin. You put your citrus in there, and you put cucumbers in there, and your juniper berries. I'm not going to waste my juniper berries on that. But you put the juniper berries in there,
Is that
and your
non-alcoholic
coriander. Yeah, I mean, I'm just, we wouldn't be consuming that in our house, but anyway. But anyway, you infuse this for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 days. Then you strain everything out, and you should have a beverage that's very close to gin in its taste. And then you make the drink the same way with the tonic. So
when you do it with the wine, it only takes about a week versus the vodka process that takes about a month?
Well, I never have done it, so I don't have the timing. I have the timing down on the other one.
Right. Okay.
I would think the best thing to do is to taste it frequently and see how the balance is.
Right.
And, just proceed according to how it seems. But that's the basic on how you do it. You infuse the gin flavoring elements into the non-alcoholic wine. And that's how you get the non-alcoholic.
That's excellent. I'm going to do that. I have many friends who don't drink, and that would be such a special thing to do for Christmas.
That's a great idea. Yes, you can.
That would be a really cool gift to give people at Christmas.
Yeah. So give yourself, I don't know, a month to balance all the flavors out.
Yeah.
And then you should have something that you'd be really proud of. And
that's really fun. I love making
there's your virgin Spanish gin and tonic, and
it's a
how to make your own
mocktail.
gin, and the whole thing.
Yeah. Nice. That's super cool.
So there is what I have today. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, but I want to go to Ireland and go wherever you were and drink one of those.
You do want to. Ireland is a wonderful country. We found that the people there were so friendly. I was, I was kind of ready for British Reserve and, kind of a, nice but standoffish. Well, those guys, so they'll go down and taxi driver, you offer them a drink and they'll go in with you. They're very friendly people, and they do drink a lot, and it's part of the culture. But even those who don't are really warm, inclusive people. Mm-hmm. We liked it very much, and we actually have thought that if politics works out a certain way, Nancy, who is an Irish citizen, might be able to get us into the country so we could live there, which would
that would be awesome.
Any excuse to go back to Ireland is a good one to me.
So I love that country. I spent a lot of time there in Dublin.
It's also it's extremely green. It's especially coming from Santa Fe. It's almost overwhelming, the fecundity of life, the intensity of everything growing so energetically.
Yeah,
but it's a nice place to be, and food's good.
I've only ever been to Dublin. I went there to run the Dublin Marathon and had a blast, but we really didn't get out too much. But people were actually drinking while they were running.
That's Irish for you,
I believe it.
I guess that's what the British soldiers found, that this gin gives you a certain amount of courage and energy. I never really tried that. I'm not a marathoner, but
it was super fun.
You know what I love about Ireland? I love
there's the whole story on gin and
the balladeers. They sing and they tell the best stories.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful place, and now we know where to go to get gin and tonics, Lisa. After our Croatian visit, we'll go to Ireland.
Well, you should go to Spain also. I want to tell you, if you go to the Basque Country, to San Sebastian or Bilbao, any of these cities that are close to the ocean, in the old quarters, they have these pinchos bars, and they are like little teeny tapas. And what they do is the bars compete with each other. So when you go into the bar, there's a long bar and then some tables in the back. And the bar is laden with plate after plate after plate of these beautiful decorative little mini tapas, like hors d'oeuvres, but they're almost always held together with a toothpick of some kind, and that toothpick is pincho. That's what the Spanish word for toothpick, and they're held together this way. So you go in and you get a little glass of wine and your little plate, and you just take the ones that you want, and they somehow keep track of all this.
That sounds so nice.
Yeah, and the other thing that Nancy just reminded me is that the other drink that's very popular is cider, hard cider.
Oh, wow.
They have these cider taverns where they also have
my
pinchos.
personal favorite, actually.
Love hard
cider. It's really good.
Some, Debriana.
So the fun thing about going to the pinchos is that you're in one pinchos bar, and then of course you've got to see what the one across the street is like, what they're offering. So you go over there and you try their pinchos, then you try another one, and all this time you're meeting people, and it's just like this street party, and it's every night. It's so convivial, and you can get into it as much as you want, or you can take one pincho and go to the back and have it with tea if you want, or you can just pig out on these fantastic concoctions, and each bar wants to keep the customers there as long as possible. So they compete for the most ornate and most interesting combinations of. They use a lot of little tiny white fish called boquerones. They're like this long, and they use little wheels of cheese and just ham. They use a Serrano ham, and they just kind of pile it up, and it's easy to eat too many of them. It's now, extremely fun.
Have you ever made hard cider, Eric?
I've never made hard cider, but I have in the back a little copper still that I have never tried.
You do?
And this summer, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
We'll see what turns out.
I made it by accident once. My friend gave me a gallon of cider from his trees, and we drank some of it, and I had it out on the back porch, and I forgot it was out there. And I went out there and I saw the container. It had like blown up, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I undid it, and it let the air out really slowly, but it was absolutely hard at that point. And and I used it when I was marinating my turkey for Thanksgiving. And I've never stopped adding hard cider to my brine for Thanksgiving. I always use hard cider and bourbon for my brine.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Oh, that's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I always think of brine as just,
was the best turkey though, that one, because that cider was so fresh. But I always do get organic hard cider.
Well, Colin, who owns and runs the Santa Fe distillery, got started with hard cider. He actually had a large orchard up in Tesuque, and he just had tons and tons of apples. And he got to wondering, I mean, he likes, his spirits and stuff. And he said, I wonder if I could make calvados out of this. So he started, distilling from his apple juice, and he made an apple brandy.
Yeah.
And people loved it. And that's what gave him the idea to start the Santa Fe Distilling Company.
Wow.
And they make the apple brandy to this day from his apples from his orchard.
I love going to that place. It's such a
apples,
place.
Giant.
Yeah, it really is. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We'll have to concoct another cocktail hour.
Okay, we'll concoct away. That sounds great. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now I'll make one for myself.
That was great.
Oh my God.
We'll have to concoct another one. Everyone enjoy the afternoon and
weekend.
Santa Fe.
It's kind of like the weekend every day though.
It is. Enjoy your cocktail or mocktail or whatever you're doing tonight.
And who you're with.
And who you're with.